Hey there, Wisdom Seekers. It's Coach T, and I'm in studio today, and I'm very excited because I've got a special guest here from our community, and I'm going to let her introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Takiia Anderson. I am part of the financial wisdom community, and I am excited to speak to Teresa and learn more about finances, particularly savings, budgeting, anything that we can do to improve our finances overall. Hi, Teresa. Thank you again for inviting me to talk to you about finances, budgeting, for you to impart a lot of your wisdom on us. I wanted to know if we would be able to just start and jump into some questions.
Absolutely.
So, Teresa, I'm very excited to be here. I'm excited to get more information, some knowledge from you. I want to know, again, more about finances, actually improving my finances, and maybe you give tips to everyone else in terms of what direction we should go. I wanted to start by asking you this first question, which is you've titled this podcast episode, Is Your Money Childish? What does that mean, and how does Proverbs 22:6 connect to our financial habits?
Well, first, thank you for being here. I'm very excited to answer your questions. Proverbs 22 talks about training up a child and how they should go. If you do it when they're young, they won't depart from it when they're old. And think about money and how we handle money and how children handle money. Children have no idea of the value of money. What they want to do is spend and buy. Just spend, spend, spend. They have a few dollars, they go in, they want gum, they want this, they want that. Well, many times we behave that way as adults. And what I wanted to do is talk about how we can not just grow up in age, but grow up in our money habits and have more mature money habits. So I thought that was a great way to connect it. And as a Christian, I believe that the Bible has given us all the solutions that we need that pertain to our life and our finances.
And talking about children, money behavior, what are some childish money behaviors that you have observed or see in adults? Even those who are trying to budget, they're trying to do the right thing, but for some reason they just haven't been taught. They don't have any sort of idea of what direction to go in. So what is it that you have seen?
One of the big things that I see with people who are trying to budget, trying to save, is that they're impatient. People will start, they get on a good track, they save for a few months, and they get impatient because things don't happen quickly enough. Kind of like a child is very impatient. You've seen children, you've got children. Babies want to run before they can walk, right? So many times people are that way with their money, even when they're on the right track, even when they're doing the right things, they get very impatient. Then what happens is the money that they've saved, they get distracted and they go out and they begin to spend and they're back in the same position they were before they started. So I would say impatience is the biggest killer.
A lot of people say they're saving, but how can someone tell if their saving strategy is still in the infancy stages?
That's a good question because, first of all, most people don't even understand the difference between saving and investing. A savings dollar is lazy money. That's the money you put in your checking account, your savings account. And I always like to tell people money in a savings account is not going to make you rich. So if someone is saving, just saving, that tells me immediately they're in that infancy stage. Because at some point you move from saving to investing. Investing is that money that multiplies. That's the money that works for you when you're sleeping. That's the money that's going to help you when you retire, when you're no longer getting that little paycheck every couple of weeks. So there is a big difference between savings and investing. So that's usually a telltale sign that someone is still in their infancy stage if they're still just saving.
So I want to talk about how you go about coaching clients. How do you coach them to graduate from beginner budgeting to a more complex, mature, purpose-driven financial plan?
Excellent. Again, part of coaching is teaching people the basics. And a lot of people don't understand what budgeting really is. They'll say, I've got a budget. But for most people, a budget is simply just an expense list. It's a list of all their expenses and then what it costs them. True budgeting is what you do with the money that is left over after you've paid those necessities, that discretionary money. That is the money that you have an opportunity now to take and budget either savings, if you want to travel, those types of things. So what I try and do is get to that discretionary number, put a plan in place, and then have my clients commit to using a portion of their discretionary money to accomplish their long-term goals. What that does is it allows them to plan for the long term and also enjoy right now. So it's a two-part coaching process.
So you discussed and you had a comment about discretionary, how people should take some of their discretionary income, and that's where after they've budgeted and they have money set aside. How would you talk about, or how do you describe what a grown-up emergency fund, taking some of that discretionary income or whatever's left over in order to put it into an emergency fund? How much should they have? What should their mindset be when it comes to that emergency fund?
I'm so glad you asked that question because I've been on this platform now. That's the one thing that I have talked about more than anything else is emergency funds. It's because it is the foundation of building long-term wealth. And the mindset of emergency fund, a mature mindset, is this. I have no savings, behind on my bills. I need help most months. And if I lost my job, I would be out of luck. The mindset should be, listen, until I accomplish 3 to 6 months, 3 months if you are a 2-income household, 6 months if you're a single income household, until I have that, I don't have any discretionary money. All 100% of my discretionary money is focused on building that reserve. Because without that, it is very difficult to get out of debt. Because what happens is if you're in an emergency, where's the first thing you go? Credit card. Credit card. So that's a Band-Aid to keep that from happening. So emergency reserves are critical, and the mindset should be, if I don't have it, that is my number one focus.
And I do have a follow-up question to the 3 to 6 months. Why are you focused on, or why is that a time frame, 3 months, 6 months? What does that cover?
3 months, typically, because that's how long it takes to find a job. Studies have shown 3 to 6 months is about how long it takes to find a job if you're out there looking. 3 months for a 2-income household, because typically you should have, if there's another income coming in the household, you can continue to pay your necessities. 6 months for a single income earner, because there may be other challenges that you may have. So there's no magic, but 3 to 6 months is typically how long it takes to find a job.
Thank you.
Good question.
So let's talk about investing. What are some signs someone is still investing like a beginner, and how can they take their strategy to the next level?
Investing and saving, I talked about that earlier, so I won't go back into that, but I will tell you that, have you ever gone to the grocery store and come out of the store, get home, and you're not able to make a meal?
Yes.
It's happened, right? You go in and you buy all the stuff you like. You want this, you want that. You get home, but you can't put a meal together. Well, that's what infancy investing looks like, childish investing. You just buy stuff. People who start investing, they always want to start with the get-rich-quick stuff. I talk to people all the time, no investing, no 401k, but they got Bitcoins. You know, they're buying this, they're buying that because their buddy's buying it. So I would say that an immature investment strategy is one that is being led by just buying stuff you like or buying stuff your buddy said is a good thing to invest in. A good investment strategy, a mature strategy, sits down, maps out your goals, and then everything you purchase is something that is going to get you closer to that financial goal.
Thank you. Many people feel like they're doing the right things, savings, paying bills, but not building wealth. What mature financial habits separate those who stay stuck from those who grow?
I would have to say that staying stuck where you are financially has to do with, one, the ability to take risk. One of the things you find in wealthy money habits is that wealthy money will take risk. And many times people, once they get money in a savings account, they get scared. They want to make sure, they've never seen it. So they want to see it there. They don't want to invest it in anything. And again, I said it earlier, you won't get rich just from money in a savings account. So I would say being able to take risks. And the other thing, I've mentioned it already, is being patient. Creating wealth comes over time. Most people have their wealth in 2 areas in this country, their 401ks and their homes. And how did they get there? Consistency. 401k, every paycheck, I just put it back. No matter what's going on in the market, Whether it's up or down, I put that money back every single month. Our homes, we just make our mortgage payment and we build equity. The market gives us that upside, right? So wealth happens over time, being consistent and sticking with it. That is, wealthy money is discipline. Wealthy money habits are discipline. They start with a goal in mind and they keep moving forward until they get there.
And how do you convince someone who is focused on savings? They have a savings account, but they don't have that strong investment that'll yield better results for them. How do you convince, or how would you convince someone to say, let's focus now on strong investing versus really putting your money into your savings account? They just want to hold on to that.
Now we're talking about more of a mindset. We are raised with money habits. We don't realize it, but we are, based on what our parents did, what we heard them talk about. And many times that money habit is so embedded, it's difficult for even me. But one of the things that I tell people is that let's start small. Start small. Start with an investment, $50 a month, $25 a month, and watch it grow. Because one of the things I will tell you is that investing and growing money is contagious. Once you feel it, once you see it, you see that. My husband just opened up his statement recently. He said, babe, look at this. I mean, we've been at it a long time, but he was excited over this past quarter. So investing and growing money is contagious and it gets very exciting. So if I can convince or coach people into just getting started, doesn't have to be perfect, just do it.
Thank you. How do emotions and impulsive decisions play into childish money? And what does emotional maturity look like in money management?
I would say that impulse spending and buying is the number one killer of wealth. Number one. Because think about what a child does. We talked about it earlier. They want everything they see. There's no filter. Mature money doesn't behave that way. It's disciplined. One of the episodes that I did on my Financial Wisdom YouTube channel talked about how wealthy money is disciplined.
Yes.
Mature money is disciplined. But what keeps you disciplined? It's a plan. You've got to have a plan. I say it over and over. The community's going to get tired of hearing me say it. They're going to say, yeah, Teresa, I know. We need a plan. We need reserves. But it's true. Nothing happens without that plan because that's your guardrail. That is your guardrail. When you go into the store, when you want to buy something, when you're online, you think, wait a minute, that's going to move me farther away from what I'm trying to accomplish. So setting goals and being disciplined is mature money habits.
Agree. Thank you. What role does consistency and delayed gratification play in moving from short-term wins to long-term wealth?
I think I might have already answered that one, in that wealth is built over time. Consistency, it's difficult to do anything without being consistent. First, you've got to make a decision that you want to change, that you're ready. Once you're ready, you put your plan in place and you continue to move. If you're decide you want to lose weight, and we've all been there, right? Mm-hmm. You want to lose weight. You lose weight when you're consistent with your eating, right? You're consistent with your drinking. You make those choices every time you sit down for a meal. You've got to decide, am I going to eat today in a way that's going to get me closer to my goal or move me further away? It's no different when you're trying to build wealth. You've got to make a decision that every dollar that you have has a job, and you've got to put it to work. And until you do that, building wealth will feel like it's a struggle every single day. So again, being consistent, key. Just like impulse buying is the killer, consistency is the win.
Thank you. If someone listening realizes today that their money mindset is still childish, what are the first 3 steps they can take to begin maturing financially?
I'm so glad you asked. That is a great lead-in for my wealth work. As you know, as part of the community, I always love to give wealth work every single month based on the topic. So I would say to you, the first thing that I want you to do this month is I want you to take a deep dive into your financial situation. This is hard for people to do, to be honest with themselves. I want you to take a deep dive, and I want you to assess the things that you are paying for right now that you purchased based on not long-term affordability, but your ability to make a payment. That means you bought what you could qualify for, not what you could afford. I want you to go through that list, and if there are things that were more wants than needs and it's possible, I want you to cancel it. Big adult step, grown-up step, but I want you to cancel it if that's possible. Two, let's stop talking about building emergency reserves. You can't have a serious conversation about building wealth, and you can't even go to the next paycheck if something happens. So you've got to build reserves. Let's start that today. And then third, this is another tough one. I want you to stop rewarding broke. What does that mean? Well, no money in the bank, behind on your bills, having to borrow money for help, but yet you make a decision when you get paid that you're going to treat yourself. Treat yourself to what? So what I want you to do is I want you to stop rewarding broke and reward success. What does that look like? If you work hard, certainly you deserve a paycheck. But the reward is, you know what? I've got some extra money. I've cut bills. I've cut some of my expenses, and I'm going to put some money back this month. That's a win, right? So we're going to do things a little bit differently this month. We're going to grow up, and we're going to start operating in mature money habits. All right? That's it.
Thank you, Teresa, for inviting me here. I've learned so much. You have added to my knowledge. I appreciate all the insights that you've provided. Hopefully, some of our financial wisdom people will take on that and take the challenge of savings versus spending. And thank you.
You are welcome. Thank you, Wisdom Seekers. See you soon.